So, hello, everybody. It is me, Demetra, Kaye, and I'm sitting here with Donovan, the recovering Democrat Sadiq, also known as the Black Yule Brenner. The purpose of the Demetra Kaye show is to promote Black love, knowledge, and understanding of all things that go on in the Black community to make us an even better people with the emphasis on even because we're great people, but we can always strive to do better. We are not live, but we'll be live later on at 5 p.m. Central Time. I think we're going to lighten it up as it is Christmas Eve. Now, I don't celebrate. Donovan does kind of, sort of, but not really, but there's a lot that do. So we just want to have a fun conversation about something. What it is, I don't know. But please join us in doing that. So today we're going to talk about I guess it's a pretty, trending topic of that of Fat Joe. He was on a podcast recently and he said some things that made a lot of Black Americans or FBA, Foundational Black Americans, raise a couple of eyebrows. And the conversation has been circling and cycling, I guess, same thing, ever since. So I also want to bring in Lord Jamar of Brand Nubians into the conversation because I think he said something that was, really profound. And so we're going to have a conversation about that. Donovan, how are you today?
I am doing great. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Hanukkah, and in the words of Kamala Harris, Kwanzaa. Her Indian family celebrates Kwanzaa and, the bathtub greens and all that great stuff. We just, an Indian family that celebrates a holiday that has nothing to do with them. They just sat around the Christmas tree as Indians, and just it doesn't make sense. People put it together. Anyway, Merry Christmas to everybody out there. Do us a favor. It is Christmas, and if you guys like to donate, there's a scrolling banner at the bottom. You can do it Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, Cash, money orders, and all that other great stuff. Also, don't forget to download the African Diaspora News Channel app. You can get that on Google Play, Apple Store. Get great videos from Demetra Kaye, Philip Scott, Vicki Dillard, Wongale, all the rest of the great contributors on the African Diaspora News Channel. We are trying to get at least 2 to 3 subscriptions a show. If we can do that, that'll make it faster for us to get off this platform in the new year, hopefully. And we could go on our own platform and talk about issues that really address us. This topic here in regards to Fat Joe is another example of why we need our own platforms and why we need to talk among ourselves, because Fat Joe, who has made a lot of money off of the Black community, because let's keep it real, he didn't make any money off the Puerto Ricans, his own people. He made his money off of the culture of Black people. And that's where he makes a lot of his money. And of course, now he's a DNC shill, as we know, because he was, tax evasion and stuff like that. Now he's a DNC shill. But the point is, this is why we need our own platforms so we can talk and do the things that they want. But people like Fat Joe, they don't want us to have our own stuff, but they want to propagate and tell us how to run our stuff. But like I said, if I went to Puerto Rico and I tried to do the same thing and propagate their culture, I would be shunned out completely. So what would be the difference? So this will be a great conversation, Demetra. Let's get into it, shall we?
Absolutely. So, not that long ago, Fat Joe went on to a podcast to have a conversation, I guess, about a whole host of things. Sounds like he just released an album. And so within that conversation, Foundational Black Americans came up. Now, for those of you guys that don't know what that is, FBA, because I've seen even a lot of people like, what's FBA? FBA is Foundational Black Americans, and I don't want to call him a leader, but he definitely, I guess, kind of founded the group, and that is Tariq Nasheed. Of course, you guys know Tariq Nasheed is the creator, if you will, of Hidden Colors, and a whole host of other documentaries, and he has a FBA museum in Los Angeles, California, and just a whole host of things, like I said, that he's got going on. And with that, there's a lot of people who call themselves Foundational Black Americans. And so that has started to really grow legs, if you will. We've seen and heard people talk about it on major news networks and everything in between, right? So on this conversation, I'm going to show you, I guess Fat Joe was asked about it, and he kind of jumbled the name, if you will. But he said some pretty disparaging things about Foundational Black Americans. And I should say to you guys right off the top, because I have people ask me all the time, are you FBA? Are you FBA? Say, well, I don't necessarily subscribe to the group FBA. I don't have an issue with it. I'm Black American. In the past, I have been Pan-African, and in a way, I am. I believe that eventually we should, try to work together. Now, of course, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad did say in the Fall of America, and I don't have that on my desk at the moment, but he says, yes, Black, people in Africa, Africans, they are our brothers and sisters, but we need to be focused on ourselves here in America first, because the Black man and woman in America got a whole lot of issues that we need to tend to first before we go trying to get together and help everybody else, right? So I just want to say that off the top. But I'm going to show y'all a video of Fat Joe. Then I'm going to bring in Lord Jamar, because he was brought up eventually during that conversation. And I thought what Lord Jamar said may be going over a lot of people's heads. So I want to give that a conversation. So first, we're going to hear Fat Joe. Here we go.
These rumors were made by radical Black racists. Let's just say that. Okay, it's a group of these guys that don't want to hear Jamaican, don't want to hear Guyanese, they don't want to hear a Black guy that ain't down with them. Right? So their job is to criticize anybody who don't look like them or who ain't Black American.
Who are these guys?
You want me to say a name? We're going to give them too much clout.
I mean...
The FBA, Foundational Black Authority, whoever the these broke niggas is. I'm just keeping it a buck. And their shit is to attack everybody on Twitter. You see who run them? Like, your leader? Yo, man, you got to be kidding me, man. And so they trying to change the narrative. They're not from New York.
Right.
So they telling a whole nother story.
Okay, so that's the snippet of it. And so in the longer version, I'm going to remove Fat Joe. So in the longer version of it, he criticized Lord Jamar, basically saying, and I'm paraphrasing, that he was a part of one of the, most prolific groups in hip hop history. I believe so. Brand Nubians. But he also said that he was the weakest one, right? He's like, said he was the weakest one or whatever, trying to discredit Lord Jamar. So then Lord Jamar responded to it, and this is what he said. Here we go.
Took it back to your so-called roots or to your motherland or whatever the case may be and asked them to support you, you would not be where you are today. I asked KRS, I asked Fat Joe, I asked Lazy Legs, Buster, a bunch of them. I asked to come to a debate. Sit down and let's talk about like civilized people. Bring your assets, bring what you have that strengthens your argument. I'm going to bring the people that I have that say they were there and can tell you about the origins of hip hop. And yes, some people may have been Puerto Rican. Some people may have had Jamaican background or something like that. But guess what? They were all doing and acting like foundational Black American youth. They weren't acting Jamaican. They weren't acting Puerto Rican when it came to interacting in hip hop circles. Even before the culture had a name, the culture was still there. And it was being influenced by foundational Black American youth using foundational Black American music as its base. We wasn't using any Puerto Rican slang, and not just Puerto Rican, anything. It's not about hating anything that doesn't look like you. These are non-arguments that people try to create to try to say that this is what people are upset about. No, we're upset about the fact that you can't just admit that the thing that you love, hip hop, that has brought you fame and fortune, was created by a people that you subconsciously look down upon.
All right, so that was Mr. Lord Jamar. I'm going to take him down. Okay, so I should also bridge the gap there. Of course, the point of contention is hip-hop, who founded it, who discovered it, who was there first. And so, of course, there's a lot of proof that says that is Black Americans that founded hip hop. That was there first. Everybody else glommed onto it. But of course, as you heard there, Lord Jamar called out a lot of people, KRS-One, Busta Rhymes. He says lazy legs, but I think he meant he's talking about Crazy Legs, the iconic, if you will, break dancer. All of them are not foundational Black Americans. But I really loved what Lord Jamar said. He says, y'all wasn't acting like y'all people. Y'all wasn't mimicking your people. You weren't cosplaying your people. You were cosplaying Black American youth, is what he said, right? And that's true for everywhere, not even just in hip hop. But I love how he also said the thing that made you rich and famous is also the thing you look down upon. And let's keep it a buck. There's a lot of people that are not Black Americans that look down on Black Americans, but they want to be like Black Americans, walk, talk, and everything else. And then should say too, in the clip of Fat Joe, he used the N-word, and y'all know how I feel about that, and I'll get into that in just a couple of minutes. I had to bleep that out because they bleeped out the F word, but they didn't bleep out the N word. So it's like, okay, I guess that's okay on, some of these platforms or whatever the case is. So there's a lot of people who are taking exception to Fat Joe even using the word. But, back to Fat Joe, he called us, Black Americans radical. And I think maybe I should put it where he's really speaking of FBA, right? Said radical Black racist. When we know that Black people cannot be racist, because in order to be racist, you have to be able to control a whole group of people in every way, shape, or form, economically, physically, and everything else, right? So we as Black Americans do not possess the ability to do that, right? Now, we can be discriminatory or, prejudice and things like that. But as far as racist, no, we don't have the ability to do that, okay? Now, he also says that foundational Black Americans look down on anyone that is not them. I want to say this. It's not that Black Americans or FBA look down on anybody that's not them. We're getting sick and tired of y'all encroaching upon our spaces and places and everything else that we have and won't give us credit for it. And then when you get called to the carpet, then you get mad. Then you're talking about we doing something to you. And it's not just Fat Joe, the Puerto Ricans. It's even people from the motherland, right? Different countries in Africa, they do the same thing. I've seen a trend on Twitter and other places where some of the Africans from different countries, they're saying we as Black Americans are picking on them, or we made them feel bad when they first came here as children. We would do this, that, and the other. It's like, okay, so y'all just gonna bypass white supremacy, right? Y'all just gonna blame Black people. Then Fat Joe says, basically the FBAs are broke N-words, right? Okay, whatever. Then he says that, we attack everybody. And it's like, no, I think you got it wrong, brother. Black Americans are under attack, always have been, and is to this moment. Always under attack in some way, shape, and form. But again, when Black people start to speak up, then it's a problem. And so what they're having a problem with is, this term has come about, I'd say, in the last probably right around the time. And I should also bring in ADOS, American Descendants of Slavery group, with that of Tone Talks, and then Yvette Carnell. They founded the newer version of ADOS. ADOS is not new. It's a term that's been around for a very long time. They just kind of woke it back up, if that makes any sense. But the term delineation has come into the conversation right around that time, right? So delineation means that, okay, like y'all participate in tribalism on the continent or everywhere else, Black Americans are now saying, okay, we are gatekeeping. We are closing the gate now. You guys are no longer welcome to the picnic. You guys, anybody outside of Black Americans, because y'all come in and don't bring anything, but you take everything, and then you get mad when we say, hey, can you bring my dishes back? So this is a loaded conversation. Donovan? Oh, wait. So wait. The question that I have before I give it to you, back to Lord Jamar. He basically hit I think this is the point that people aren't really talking about, where he says, y'all, everybody else but Black Americans, y'all weren't mimicking your own people. As you said, if you took that in a clip that I cut off, but it says if y'all took that back to where you come from, they ain't supporting y'all. The Puerto Rican community, they're not supporting rap or any of that other stuff. You're supported by us. So what I want to say to us is this is an admonishment to Black Americans. They know who we are. They know the dopeness that comes from Black Americans. They know that, which is why everybody is wrapped up into trying to mimic Black Americans in every way, shape, or form. The question I have is, when are we going to realize that, get some proper knowledge of self, and start walking in that? When are we going to realize that they're trying to covet what we already got naturally? Donovan?
Couldn't have said it better myself. Now, if what you say is not true, I have traveled this world all over the place. And I will tell you, it's an argument that Fat Joe really has no knowledge of. When I go to the Latin countries and I look at the young people, and you have your reggaeton, and you have the different styles of merengue. You got the different dances, the salsa, the whatever the music is down there. Their traditional music. But when I look at their young people and the people that are kind of in our Generation Xers down there, they're dressing hip hop. Their music. I mean, I don't understand it, but if you listen to the beats, they emulate the culture of FBA. There's no doubt about that. There's just no doubt about it, because let's keep it real, Demetra. As Black people in the United States, I don't see too many Black people trying to merengue and salsa in their music. I mean, you probably get a little bit of it, but it isn't like something that we just adopted and take over, because it's not natural to us, right? It's just not. But if you go to the Latin countries down there, the way they dress, the way they move, their music. I mean, and to me as an FBA, when I hear them rapping in Espanol to their beats, it's like, I get it, but because of their language, it doesn't match the beats, because you can't keep the beats up to the tone of Spanish, for the words. So I'm just like, okay, whatever the deal is. So that's indisputable for Fat Joe to even bring that thing up. But let's be real about this. Why is it so important when FBA becomes gatekeepers? Because we are now waking up. When we saw Barack Obama become president, yes, we were hoodwinked and we were fooled because we saw Black skin. But after he left office, after 2 years, I voted for him twice. Demetra voted for him twice. A lot of people voted for him twice. We saw that this man had no lineage to FBA. No lineage whatsoever. His mother's white, his father's Kenyan. So why would he do for Black people when he doesn't have a lineage like? So Black people have been in this country for over 400, 600 years, and we still have yet to have a representative that looks like us and it comes from our lineage. Now with this Kamala Harris thing, do you see how she tried to adopt FBA background? Oh, my grandmother's this, and Candace Owens just did that. Like Candace Owens or hate her, she did an excellent piece. You got to give it to her for her research. And it made me wonder, why would this woman want to assert FBA history just to get power to go, I'm not going to do nothing for Black people? No, specifically. That goes to show you they know they can't do much in this country without Black support. And then she has to retort after she's been embarrassed. And it's really sad, Demetra, because we got FBAs in this country that are so damn ignorant that you telling them that she's not a Black woman, but yet they still believe it, which is fine. They can believe what they want, but it's just these non-FBA people that come from wherever they come from, they know that you've got people within our community that will open the gates and welcome them blindly to undermine us at the end of the day. She went to Howard University. I'm sorry, a real FBA woman would not have left those supporters there at night when she got beat. Indian class system, that's a real thing. That is a real thing. So Fat Joe and people like them, okay, these people that come here, they know they can't go set up shop in the Asian community. They can't go get support from the white folks. They know that ain't gonna happen. So where in the world can you go to America? I'm coming to America. Where can I go and I could make thousands of dollars and set my family up, and these idiots will let me in their community? I'll go to the Black community. And yes, I'm gonna say idiots because we're the only group that does that. But when we go to their neighborhoods, you can't set up a chicken shop in the Asian community. You can set it up, but it's not going to last very long. You can't go to the white community and set up a shop unless, of course, either they're financing it or something like that, and you're the face of it, whatever the deal is. So Fat Joe, for him to be complaining and hollering and screaming the way he does is because he knows, number one, at his age, his career is over. Snoop Dogg, his career isn't over, but Demetra, 50, 60-year-old gangster rappers. Come on now. Come on now. A lot of us now are grandparents and stuff like that.
Hey, Snoop and Dre just put out an album, a Missionary.
Yeah.
Chef's
yeah.
Kiss.
Ice Cube just put out an album. Sure did.
Chef's Kiss.
Yes, absolutely. But you see what I'm saying? You can't do the same thing, whatever. And unfortunately, when we're younger and you grow older, you're supposed to pick up a few things. And people are seeing, hey, wait a minute, you're eating off of us. But again, I can't go to Puerto Rico and assert their culture there. I can't go to the Demetra, even though I'm the mayor of Sosua, I can't go and assert the culture down there. I can't do it. But he knows his career is over because, let's face it, you got a lot of Puerto Ricans in New York. How many of them actually bought Fat Joe's albums to give him 1 million record sales and all that other stuff? Some of his hottest records had to do from Black culture. And I'll give you an example. What's Love has Ashanti on it. Don't Want to Be a Player No More. That's originally a song by Joe. That's an original song by Joe. So he's been eating good off the Black culture because he knows his own culture will not support that. They won't support it in mass. They just won't, because that's not their culture. So he needs to, go on and collect those Democratic checks, and good luck to him. But I just don't think his albums, and to me, his albums never really sold like that. I have a few of his albums that were like given away. They never really sold like that. If you look at his catalog, and Demetra, I know a lot about music just like you do, and I collect a lot of music. His stuff never really sold like that. He could drop a single here and there, but that's about it.
I was just looking up some stuff about Fat Joe. So, of course, the internet never really tells the whole story, but it says he's worth about $4 million. Of course, he did have some tax issues. Owed about $700,000 or so. Did about a couple of months in jail for not paying it or whatever the case is. I'm looking. It says his highest charting album is All or Nothing, which debuted at number 6 on the U.S. Billboard.
And that's the one that had What's Love on it with Ashanti.
Yeah, so that was it, number 6 in 2000. What did I say? 2000 something 6, I think it was. So yeah, I don't know. To me, it ain't even really about Fat Joe's career, whatever the case is. Fat Joe is just speaking. I think right now he's just the centerpiece of a lot of people who try to encroach upon Black people, and that's really what I want to talk about. Is we're always letting people come into the community and with a big giant straw and and suck up all the resources. You think about any and everybody. I don't care who they are. They have cosplayed Blackness and they have made a bag off of it. Look at who a lot of the rappers and entertainers who they're signed with and make a bag off of Blackness. They don't tell Megan Thee Stallion or any of them, Sexy Red or any of the other, male rappers, they don't say go act like white people. They say act like the most grimiest, black person you could think of. You say the most salacious stuff. Unfortunately, that sells, right? It does. And even some of their acts, they hood them up a little bit, whatever the case is, because they know that Black America is where it's at. We set the tone and the pace for a lot of stuff. And I'll give you a perfect example. There's a shoe called Crocs. Most people know what they are. Now, they used to be worn by, I'd say, white women. And maybe nerdy white dudes, right? House dads or, whatever, white moms. And they're the ugliest shoe. It's like ugly. I saw them like, ew, they're ugly. But when we started to pimp them out, put, little things, because they already had decals for them or whatever, but we really started to bling them out, flip them, do a whole lot of stuff.
It wasn't that. It was our culture of the socks. Putting the socks in the Crocs.
Yeah, all of that, but, decorating them, making them fly and everything. Then the value of Crocs went up. Everybody was wrapped up in the Crocs. I had a pair. I wore them out once in a while, but for the most part, they're house shoes, right? I wear them around the house, the garage, or whatever if I'm doing something, because I'm not really a crocky person where I'm just kind of outside with them or nothing like that. But the point that I'm making is Black Americans have the Midas touch. Everything we touch turns triple diamond platinum and uranium and whatever it is, right? We have the touch and everybody wants to be touched by that. But again, we have to, and I want to make a correction to something I said. I said delineation became a term within the last, 5 years or so. But actually, the delineation was a term back in the day with that of Marcus Garvey. Now, of course, Marcus Garvey was a Pan-Africanist, but he was talking about Black people all over the diaspora getting together, separating from these white folks, right? Let's do what we got to do. Go to Liberia. That was the ultimate plan. Go to Liberia and leave this alone is what he was saying. Then, of course, as I said, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad with the Nation of Islam, which is why they call it the Nation of Islam. And Honorable Elijah Muhammad has told us, back then, separate. And even now, the mantra is separation or death, right? So he says separate from the ones that oppress us, which is white supremacists, right? So that was the message then. But now the delineation message has gotten a little bit tighter. And that, all right, the message before was separate from the colonizer, right? White supremacy and anything that looks like it. But now it's, people from the motherland, because let's keep it a buck. There's a lot of them that come over here, look down on us, but they cosplaying Black American every way, shape, or form. But then, you got Latinos, you got Asians, you got Arabs. Those people set right up smack dab in the middle of our neighborhoods, and they cipher all the dollars out, right? But instead of, like you said, setting up in their own neighborhood, they come to us. And to your point about Fat Joe, why you ain't rapping in Spanish? Why you rapping, and you using, as they say, African American vernacular, right? Why are you using that? Why you not, since we, and the other thing too is I want to really give this a conversation. Puerto Rico really is a different boat stop from slavery. It is, right? But as you saw, Fat Joe looks to be white, right? So they have colorism in their community as well. And I'll tell y'all a story. When I was in my young 20s, I dated a Puerto Rican guy. He looked like a brother, right? Till I got to know more about him, I thought he was a brother. So when I finally got a chance to meet his mom, she spoke to him in Spanish, whatever they were saying. The tone of it felt uncomfortable to me, like, oh, what's going on? Like, why would you speak in Spanish? I don't speak Spanish, right? He tells me, my mom don't like you. She don't like Black women. And I'm like, and this is what kind of where me and him didn't stop getting along. I said, what you mean your mama don't like Black women? Her hair is nappier than mine. What? I said, her hair is nappier than mine. How dare her say she don't like Black women? So I say all that to say they're Puerto Rican, but she didn't like Black people. And it's like, if you didn't open your mouth, you will be mistaken as a Black woman. But so they have that, to Lord Jamar's point. You look down on us, but you want to beat us. Because the dude I was dating back in the day, he wanted to be black. I thought he was, and again, I want to really be careful. It is a different boat stop, but he wasn't, talking about salsa dancing and stuff. Matter of fact, because I'm from the West Coast, if anybody ain't already could tell that, he had a St. Ides tattoo on his arm because, his crew was the St. Ides crew, which is not in 53. It's like a stupid. You guys had a beer, you know what I mean? But that's kind of what we did. When I say we, I mean, some of the brothers. That was, hoorah, and I'll just leave it at that. So he didn't have whatever drink they had in Puerto Rico. So I could really go on, but yeah, everybody is wrapped up into Black Americans, but us. But we're starting to be, though.
Yeah, I mean, people are waking up. I mean, we are getting to a point where we are being gentrified and cornered politically, economically, to where you would have to be Stevie Wonder or Ray Charles not to see what is going on. But to show you how hot we are, nobody knew who Taylor Swift was. How did Taylor Swift get her start? I mean, like when she really blew up really big, Demetra. Do you remember how she really blew up? I think she was at the VMAs, and that's when Kanye said, "You have a good album," but Beyonce had the video or something of the year. And that's what really put Taylor Swift on the map. A Black man, Kanye, did that. And I want to bring up the fact of this. Jennifer Lopez, who basically, she didn't just steal the culture and vocals, as allegedly. Some of the vocals on her album are Ashanti's. Some of her most successful albums was laced with hip-hop beats, Ashanti, Murder Inc., blah, 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 right? How many of you guys know Jennifer Lopez put out a Spanish album when she was married to Mark Anthony? How well did that album do? It didn't do comparatively to her other albums what it's supposed to do. Jennifer Lopez is Puerto Rican. So again, they know that in their culture, they're not going to get the support that they're going to get if they take over or adopt Black culture. That puts them into the position that they're put in. And it's just cut and dry, simple as that. I mean, you just can't refute that. You just can't. Jennifer Lopez's worst selling album was her Spanish singing album. And if you look at it, that Spanish singing album, it was a lot of traditional, and I've got the album or CD. She had a lot of very traditional type songs. I mean, she's not a very strong vocalist, and it is what it is. But yeah, Demetra, I really do feel we are getting to a point that people are starting to wake up. I mean, Stephen A. Smith, he's starting to wake up and call it for what it is. We're not asking you guys to do a complete life change, but you got to read the tea leaves. They are putting us in a trick bag and bringing these other people out, because the city council in Los Angeles, when was the last time we had a Black mayor here in Los Angeles? It was the first time we had the only Black mayor. Tom Bradley.
I was gonna say, you got one now, but yeah, Tom Bradley.
Well, Karen Bass, no, we got to revoke her card, because again, she doesn't do anything for Black people. But Tom Bradley was the first and the last real Black mayor we had. Now, Karen Bass, yes, she is Black in the diaspora of being Black, but she was married to a Hispanic man. Now, what does that mean? Doesn't mean she's any less Black. That is not what I'm saying. But the fact of the matter is, they have a child. Karen Bass caters to the Hispanic community. So let's just call it for what it is. I mean, she is pro-Hispanic. Not mad at her. She's taking her thing. But notice, she plays the Black card, but does for the Hispanics. They all do it. So it's just sad. But a lot of Black people are waking up. And again, I'm going to say this one more time to you people. Look at California as the blueprint of what they want to do to your community. When you see the Asian setting up a shop and you see that Hispanic setting up a bodega and all that other stuff in your community, that is just the start. Even John Singleton in the movie Boys in the Hood, broke it down and explained how gentrification worked and what they do. City of Oakland, run by a mayor who is Asian, destroyed. They destroyed that city, moved the black people basically out of it, turned it into New Jack City, where the black families just had to leave and get out of there. Now the developers could come back into that city, redevelop it on pennies on a dollar, and the black folks are gone. And politically, we have no voice here. I know a lot of you guys say, oh, California, whatever. Let me tell you guys something. As a black person, you have no voice in the state of California. There's not enough black people for us to make a difference.
And I was just looking to you. Yeah, so J-Lo, the Spanish album, Como something. Yeah, it charted to number 10 on the 200. So it was considered a success. But like you said, are the albums that she did with us, when I say us, I mean black people.
Yeah, now wait, did you say chart? I go by record sales. Charting doesn't mean
it was a success. Yeah, it was a success.
You can chart and then fall off. So
yeah, no,
I go by sales.
It was a commercial success. Yeah, she did well with that album. Mark Anthony, you know what I mean? Come on, kids, keep it a buck. Mark Anthony is, Puerto Rican royalty. So she could have sang out of the phone book with him and the album would have done well, But nevertheless, and with that, yeah, J-Lo, it was the Wayans brothers that shot her to stardom. But before that, it was MC Hammer. She was a dancer with him, and she came up in the ranks of Black America. Now, speaking of which, I know she got in trouble, I think is with Ja Rule, when she said in one of her songs, tell them N-words to mind their business, right? That's what she said. And of course, Black people got all in their feelings. And as I always say, I don't care that they say the N-word. I don't care. Because as I always ask us as Black Americans, why do we want to own that word? That is not our word to own. It was never our word. As the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, Farrakhan, James Baldwin, and a whole host of other people, the N-word is not something we created. It is not an original creation of Black Americans, but unfortunately, we live that way. In one of Farrakhan's Savior's Day address, he talked about us living in, and I'm going to use this word, Niggerville. And you can imagine all of the things that happened there in Niggerville, right? So we have to stop believing and thinking and acting and walking and talking as though we are there. We were so much more and still are before we were labeled with that word that belongs to white folks. That is their word. And somehow we have commandeered that word like it's ours. You can't say that. You can't say it. And you can't say, I don't care if you say it, just don't say it to my face. But that ain't my word, though. You know what I mean? And I always sit and think about that. I'm like, out of all the things we want to own, we want to gatekeep that, but you letting the gate open and letting any and everybody else come up in here and I'll take the music, I'll take the melanin, I'll take the hair, I'll take the ass, I'll take your man, I'll take your woman, I'll take your neighborhood, I'll take your grandmama and grandpapa's house that they left you because you don't have the economical sense to keep it. We're going to let you in and let a white man do the Watusi real good. I know the Watusi don't belong to us, but I'm saying that for just being funny. We invite him to the picnic. Oh, he can dance. He can do this. Oh, we need to give him a invitation to the picnic. Why? Because he shook his butt. He can do the Tootsie Roll or whatever real good. So when because see, a lot of times what we don't understand is them doing a Tootsie Roll or the hustle, whatever they doing, that's like a Trojan horse. Because they know all they got to do is the equivalent of Bill Clinton. Sound like he in the hospital, whatever now, but anyway, I get back to what I said. Bill Clinton on Arsenio Hall, all he had to do was play a saxophone real good, and Toni Morrison called him the first Black president, as white and pink as he is, right? That's a Trojan horse, because he also, after he played that saxophone real nice, when he got in the office on the backs of the Black vote, He also wrote that 1994 crime bill, the Three Strikes Law, that disproportionately, predominantly harmed Black people, and it still to this day does that at the behest of Joe Biden, who also is a Trojan horse because he got in good with Black people when Obama made him his vice president, and we thought they were so cool together, Batman and Robin and all this other stuff. So as I said to my original point, we so busy gatekeeping the N word, but we don't gatekeep nothing that matters. When you go and, give your talents and stuff out into the world, you don't say this is mine because that's what them folks do. Everybody else do it. They don't, like you said, and Farrakhan said that. He says, Black people, Asians ain't gonna let you go up in their neighborhood and set up and sell egg food. Young, you'll starve. You will go out of business. But we allow them to come in our neighborhood and put liquor stores and even sell us fried chicken. Don't nobody fry chicken better than us, but we let them set up fried chicken shops, chicken and rice houses. When I moved to Houston, I was like, what the hell is that? A chicken and rice house. And then I hear, oh, they give you this big old giant plate of it. And it's cheap. And I'm like, and you eating that? They giving you a bunch of chicken and rice for cheap, and you eating that? That don't concern you as to why they're able to sell it to you at a discount. What's in it? But the crazy part is they know you don't care. They know you don't care. They know that, unfortunately, a lot of us are still, as they said in the nation, deaf, dumb, and blind. Not physically, but mentally. There is no way we should allow them to come into our communities, what we have left anyway, and do any business. Come in a community, set up, sell to Black people, don't hire Black people, don't put back into the neighborhood, and we mad about the N-word. Fat Joe could call his mama, his daddy, his bald-headed granny, and everybody else the N-word, and Demetra Kaye ain't gonna care. But what I care about is that he is a culture vulture, just like Vlad. And, Lord Jamar, I love you. But Lord Jamar, and I know Godfrey, I think he's of Haitian descent or Ugandan, I think, something like that. But y'all sat up on Vlad and gave him a lot of interviews. I don't know if you were paid or not. The rumor is that you wasn't. But then I love you, Lord Jamar, because when you heard that Vlad disparaged our dear Minister Louis Farrakhan, you said, oh, hell no. You and Godfrey both called him to the carpet and said he is a vulture and he will never get another interview from us. So we got to start gatekeeping the stuff that matters. They can have the N-word. It's not ours.
And like you said, when you talk about like our foods and stuff, there's a app that we use. It's called Yuka, that helps you with your thing and helps you, purchase. And thank God RFK has been appointed to the health and whatever thing that he's going to be over. He's going to get some of this crap out of the food, because if you look at some of our people, especially in the Black culture, you see that a lot of us are just I don't know if it's it's the stuff in the food, but we got some really bad stuff in the food that's making the people look like aliens and busting them out and stuff like that. So, I know rice is a very big staple around the world, but we have high diabetes in our culture. And how many of you guys know rice is a sugar? It's it's like a glucose, like a sugar. So if you've got diabetes and you're eating all that damn rice, yeah, it's like a high starch. So you're eating all that stuff. You're, like you said, we're ignorant to what is going on around us. Just because you've been doing something for a long time, does that mean you continue to do it? I mean, back 100 years ago, we were going to war with horses and buggies and things like that and pulling it. Do we still do that to this very day? No, you got to change with the times. And when you know better, you do better. So, it's just a lot of things that we are starting to see. People are waking up. I don't want to say this to be disrespectful, but the old guard is going away, which I think is a good thing, because the ones that need to go away, because like I said, the ones in Chicago, keep doing what you guys are doing up there. Those are the real militants. And people, what people are about by their actions. People can say a lot of pretty words, but it's their actions that really say what they're about. And those people in Chicago that are doing it, it's the older people. But we, people are waking up and seeing that, we can no longer sustain other people coming into our communities. And I want to end with this. We're talking about gatekeeping and, vulture cultures and all this other stuff. Here's the one thing that I think is the Trojan horse in our community. And I'm saying this with my whole heart. I don't want to discourage anybody. You love who you want to love. But one of the biggest Trojan horses, and I'm speaking to the brothers. I'm not going to speak to the women, even though you need to speak to the women. Brothers, what we need to do, like I said, we're all sitting here talking culture, vulture, and gatekeeping and stuff like that. Leave those white women and those other women alone and deal with the women in your own community. You would have less of a problem and less of a heartache. Do not sit here and tell me about Fat Joe gatekeeper. Yeah, I'm going to stand the ground. And you got a Puerto Rican girl next to you. And you got a white woman next to you, whatever the deal is. When I look at the NBA, and I love basketball, I'm seeing so many mixed athletes now. Not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Love who you want to love. But that is the Trojan horse that is undermining our community, because now these mixed nuts, as I call them, come into the community. They've got both sides now. They've got a white side and they've got their black side. Depending on which parent is which, they have an allegiance stronger to one versus the other. So brothers, don't be hollering about gatekeeping and this, that, and you got if you got a snow bunny or somebody outside of that, let me just say this. Let me paraphrase with this. You damn sure better instill in your children blackness. And I'm gonna leave it at that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to just say this too, in closing, we got to focus on what matters. If you are spending more time on Twitter, arguing back and forth about who could say this and who this, that, and the other, than you are educating your children and giving them knowledge of self, stick yourself. In the words of the Mac, stick yourself, okay? If you have not taught your children who they are, if you don't know who you are, if you don't even know why everybody else is trying to be like you, stick yourself. Because you're just a thumb thug too. You care more about what Fat Joe is doing. But if we were to close the gates and build them high, they wouldn't be able to see what we doing. And I always, in the modern day, use the example of TikTok. When those black TikTokers said, oh, nah, y'all white people and everybody else, y'all getting the credit for what we doing, and y'all running off and getting all the fame and fortune while we sitting here not even getting the breadcrumbs. No, we gonna stop. We're gonna stop creating. And y'all make it do what it do. And guess what? Didn't nothing get done, because they needed the blueprint of Black Americans. And as a proud Black American woman, I will say that this is no hate, as Fat Joe said. This is no hate to nobody else. This conversation always gets derailed when Black people, Black Americans, start talking about loving on each other. But we already know this is designed by the government. So everybody else outside of Black America gloms on to the talking points of white supremacy. They always have known when Black people unify, because we were unified before, and they broke that up. But when we unify, it's over. We are really going to be a force to be reckoned with, not because we're trying to do something to somebody else, but because we have gotten together and we have drowned out the noise and everybody else. See, also, unity happens when knowledge of self happens. When you know who you are, you ain't trying to be somebody else. You ain't trying to be with other people. You ain't looking for the validation of everybody else. You say, who cares? Who cares what Fat Joe is doing? See, Fat Joe is in his feelings because Black people are starting to say, nah, you done made enough off of us. How about, and this, because like, think about this. Fat Joe people ain't gonna let us come up in there and do the merengue and the sauce. They ain't gonna let us come and take over that. They'd be damned. And in the words of Joe Biden, I'd be damned, right? They would be damned if they allow any Black Americans to go in there and take over anything that they're doing, or say, well, the drums, they originate, let's say, from Africa, from what I heard. But then somebody's probably going to say it's not. I'm just giving an example. So that belongs to Black people. They would never hear of it. But I also want to say this too. There are Black, or as they say, Afro-Latinos, Black, right? And they get hated on within their own race. Black presenting Asians, they get hated on. Philippines, they got Filipinos that look like us. They get hated on because all over the world, white supremacy has dug in deep and has permeated the minds of every civilization for the most part, except for the ones that's deep off in the Amazons that be spearing people if you come close to them, which I don't blame them, right? But white supremacy has permeated everything. And so you got this assimilated mindset that, it's close to a whiteness that I get, then the better off I am. And anybody else that doesn't look like me or whiteness, then I'm going to hate on them. I'm going to push them away. I'm going to make them feel less than. But again, teach your babies knowledge of self. Give y'all an example before we leave. I took my daughter to work with him one day. I was off. And as we were leaving, she was probably like 5, I don't know. She raised her hand, her right hand, and said, Black power. So the next day I go back to work. One of my supervisors like, hey, D, I saw that your daughter said Black power. Well, what's that about? Why are you teaching her to hate white people? And I said, what about that made you think that she hated white people? And he looked at me. I said, did she say she hated white people? I said, what about her saying Black power was a threat to you and made you think that meant she hate white people? And he says, you know what? I never thought about it that way. I said, the opposite is true. I have and am teaching my daughter to love her very Black self for who she is and not to want to be like somebody outside of who she is, if that's all right with you. And he says, you're right. I didn't think about it that way. So anytime Black people love on ourselves, they take that as a threat, because in essence, it is. When we love on ourselves and we unify, we suck a lot of money. We get about $2 trillion from what they say in the Black community, but we give 97% of that away. When we start having knowledge of self, then we stop shopping with them. We stop giving our money away, and there goes their livelihood. So there's a lot to suppress Black people. And Fat Joe, whether he knows it or not, is an agent of stopping Black Americans from rising to where we were when our ancestors came off of those plantations and built this Villa Raro of Madam C.J. Walker. They're trying to stop that again, but you can't stop what God has already predestined. So, Donovan, you got any words before we get out of here?
Yeah, and I want to end with this. Notice Fat Joe is a Democratic operative. The Democratic Party's policy, unofficially, if you look at it, is to undermine Black people at all costs. And they will use other groups to undermine Black success. This man should be hating the United States government because they caught him not paying his taxes and whatever. But now you see him on MSNBC as a political pundit, and like people really give a damn what he says. This is what they're doing, and I'm so glad that people are waking up and realizing these entertainers mean nothing. They're entertainers. They are not strategic people that we need to look to for government assistance and help and regulation. These are not the people you ask. Joe, continue to Michael Jack style, whatever you're going to do. You're an entertainer. What you have to say means nothing. But I want everybody to understand the Democratic Party and white supremacy in general uses other groups against us. And right here in California, if you want to believe it or not, there is a Hispanic and Asian coalition to stop Black people from getting reparations. That is a fact. So what is it? It ain't the white guy doing it. We already know what the white guy is about. But the point is, look at these other groups that we opened the gates to let them come in here. And this is what they're doing. And that's the Democratic policy. Look at the Democratic policy as a whole. They started on Black oppression. So what makes you think any of that would change? It just wouldn't. But I'm glad everybody's waking up, Demetra. I'm glad that people are now seeing that there is no reflection in the mirror of the Democratic Party, meaning they are the vampire.
Absolutely. So we hope that you guys had a great time for the short time that we're here. We'll be back here 5 p.m. Central Time, just to kind of lighten it up, talk about some fun as it is Christmas tomorrow, and our brains be working overtime. So we just want to, Donovan and I like to have fun too sometimes and laugh and act crazy or whatever the case is, but just really have a lighthearted conversation. So anyway, we will see y'all in a bit. Again, we have ways to help the channel if you see fit. If you guys have found value in anything that we have said today or even this year, right? As the year is over, it does cost us something to run this channel, and time and energy and things like that. And so everybody that has donated, we love and appreciate you. And those who want to, and you just like, subscribe or whatever, we love and appreciate you as well. So anyway, we'll be back here in a few. In the meantime, you guys have a great rest of your afternoon. Peace.